Good evening once again from our NBC News headquarters here in New York. Day 1089 of the Trump administration. 295 days to go now until our next presidential election. This is the start of a big week in the impeachment case against the president. The importance of it underscored by this piece of reporting tonight from the New York Times that has been subsequently matched by the Washington Post. The Russians have been hacking into the Ukrainian gas company at the center of the impeachment case, Burisma. The Times says the cyber attack started back in early November, just as we all started hearing more about this Burisma, about Joe and Hunter Biden, about Ukraine, and ultimately about impeachment. Biden's son Hunter now famously served on the Burisma board, and Trump has been urging Ukraine's president to investigate that, as he admitted back in October.
Mr. President, what exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Biden after his phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer.
In just about 10 hours, Speaker Nancy Pelosi will be meeting with House Democrats to hash out the transmission of articles of impeachment over to the Senate. They may also vote on impeachment managers, the House members who will be making the case to the Senate for Trump's removal from office. So no pressure there. Tonight, Pelosi was not sharing any details.
Do you think that the vote can't be tomorrow because of the debate?
I told you last week I was discussing this with my colleagues tomorrow at the caucus.
But the New York Times says the speaker is expected to select 4 to 10 House members. People close to Pelosi say it's all but certain that one of the managers will be Representative Adam Schiff. Representative Gerald Nadler of New York is also widely expected to be a leader of the group. The president now seems to be calling for the Senate trial to be dismissed. Yesterday, he wrote, and we quote, "Many believe that by the Senate giving credence to a trial based on the no evidence, no crime, read the transcripts, no pressure, impeachment hoax, rather than an outright dismissal, it gives the partisan Democrat witch hunt credibility that it otherwise does not have." I agree. But our NBC News team on Capitol Hill reports many Republican senators do not agree. In fact, most appear focused on the debate over whether and when to hear from witnesses, including that man, John Bolton. CBS News reports the White House is readying itself for Republican defections who are willing to hear from impeachment witnesses and willing to put their votes behind that. The report identifies 6 senators on its list of possible defectors. Alaska's Lisa Murkowski says one group of senators is talking about some sort of deal for a protected vote to allow for witnesses or documents. Mitt Romney of Utah says he's also open to witnesses and to efforts to negotiate an agreement.
Have you been working with Senator Collins on that? She mentioned there's a small group of you who are working together to try to get witnesses at the trial.
I've let Senator Collins know where I stand, which is that I support the Clinton impeachment model, which is a vote on witnesses later. That's something which I'm open to until after the opening arguments.
Including John Bolton?
Pardon?
Including John Bolton?
Oh, including John Bolton, yes. Yeah. I mean, he's someone who I would like to hear from.
So the numbers have moved on this quickly. Now a majority of Americans seem to agree. A new Quinnipiac poll finds that 66% of respondents say they want to hear from Bolton. Then there's Iran, an issue still very much on the president's plate, even with his impeachment trial rapidly approaching. And this detail tonight, NBC News reporting that Trump signed off on the killing of the Iranian General Soleimani 7 months ago. The directive apparently came with the condition that Trump would have a final say on an operation, and only if Iran's action resulted with the death of an American. And this White House continues to face mounting questions about the intelligence used to justify the lethal drone strike that killed Soleimani. Among his many unusual and full-on undignified defenses on social media, the president's retweet of a doctored picture from an unverified source of the speaker and the Senate Democratic leader Schumer in front of an Iranian flag. The two leaders are portrayed for good measure in traditional Muslim dress with the caption, Democrats 2020. This afternoon, the president responded to the growing criticism over his shifting explanations for Soleimani's killing.
I think it's been totally consistent. But here's what's been consistent. We killed Soleimani, the #1 terrorist in the world by every account. Bad person, killed a lot of Americans, killed a lot of people. We killed him. And when the Democrats try and defend him, it's a disgrace to our country. They can't do that. And let me tell you, it's not working politically very well for them. So we killed the #1 terrorist in the world.
We are also learning more about Iran's attack last week on American troops stationed at military bases in Iraq, days after the general was killed. Today, our colleague, our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, got a look at the aftermath of a direct hit at one of those military bases.
We were granted access to the western base in Iraq, struck by more than a dozen Iranian ballistic missiles, some with direct hits where U.S. troops were living and working. Officials say this shows how close the U.S. came to war with Iran. Captain Jeffrey Hansen had the wind knocked out of him by one of the first missiles, then rallied.
So you were knocked on the ground and slid under a truck.
I did. I went back to the shelter and knew that, whatever was coming, it was much worse than we thought.
Iran says it did not want to kill U.S. troops.
Do you think this was lethal?
Lethal intent?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would have died if we hadn't moved.
39 soldiers were living in these quarters. Dozens more were posted nearby.
I think we were beyond lucky.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.